parents, our guardians, if there are students and pupils who are here, good afternoon. Before I'm going to start my live tutorial on rational numbers, I would like to shout out first to my fellow YouTubers who are actually supporting in my channel. We have Buhay OFW Vlog by Ai Ayuste, Debbie and Family by Carol Guzman. We have also Juliet HMUA, Hair Makeup Artist by Juliet Gumolda, and Kingdom Moto by Dominic Cabanilla. Of course, I have always one of my best friend supporting me, and that is Marjorie La Chica. So we are now going to start with our operation of rational numbers. So that rational numbers, while I am going to discuss operation of rational numbers, you may not see me anymore, but you can see our topic in here. I will do the old school way. So I have my materials in here, which I'm going to display and discuss. Addition of rational numbers. Rational numbers are actually, in general, we call it our fractions. It has always a numerator and it has a denominator. The numerator is considered the part of the whole. And our denominator is the number of times the whole is divided. I have in here an example of a square. I divided the square. Excuse me, I see it first. It seems it's not working. Fine, it's there. So once more, we have in here the numerator and the denominator. I have an illustration in here of a square. Could you see it? May I fix it first, friends? Fix na muna natin. It seems hindi tumutog na yung tumutog na yung dinidiscuss ko. So, Okay, so I will start again. Sorry for that. Addition of rational numbers. Rational numbers are numbers commonly known as fractions. And fractions have a numerator and a denominator. The numerator is the part of the whole taken from the whole thing, and the denominator are the other parts of the whole which are not taken. Like for example here, in this square, I have one shaded part, and therefore we call it 1/4. One is a part of the square shaded, while the other fraction is 3/4. 3 is the part of the square which is not shaded. Okay. I have here examples of fractions like 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4. Do you see what is common to all these fractions? Please try to see. While in number 2, we have 2/7, we have 5/7, 2/7, and 6/7. What do you notice also? Common. Number 3, we have 3/10, 5/10, and 7/10. 9/10. Common is also the denominator, which is 10. On my fourth example, we have 5/20, 11/20, and 8/20, 13/20. So what do you notice also on my fourth examples? Did you notice that they have the same denominator? Okay. So let me take this off now. So we can have the names of the fraction I presented are actually similar fractions. Similar fractions have the same denominator. We are now to take addition of similar fractions. We have 5/8 plus 1/8 is equal to 6/8. Is equal to 6/8. What happened? Why do I have 6/8? Can you see that? I added 5 and 1, the numerator. It is 6/8. However, our answer 6/8 is not on its simplified form. Why do I say that it is not on its simplified form? Because 6 and 8 have what we call a common factor of, ano ba ang common factor of 6 and 8? They have a common factor of 2. Because 6 has factors, the number that you multiply to get 6 is 2 times 3. While 8, the numbers that you multiply to get this number is 2 times 4. So meaning they have a common factor of 2. You need to divide them both numerator and denominator by their common factor. So it will give you a simplified answer of 6 divided by 2 is 3 and 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. Finally, our answer is 3 all over 4. Next example, 2 over 9 plus 5 over 9. I will have an answer of 7 all over 9. So what did we do? It's as simple as adding 2 plus 5 is equal to 7 and copying the same denominator of 9. Is there a need to change this into its simplified form? 7 and 9. 7 is a prime number, while 9 is a composite number because it has several factors. The factors of 7 is only 1 times 7, and 9 has 1, 3, and 9. Do they have a common factor? None. Therefore, our final answer is 7 all over 9. My third example now is 3 over 11 plus negative 5 all over 11. You have now signed numbers. Take note, I have discussed with you when we've been talking about integers how to add signed numbers. So when you have the same sign, what are you going to do? You simply add the numbers. So 3 plus 5 is equal to 8. However, that you have to affix their common sign to the result. Divided by the common denominator is equal to 11. Thus, our final answer is negative 8 all over 11. Do they have a common factor? None. Therefore, that becomes our final answer. Number, for example, is 7 over 15 plus negative 3 all over 15. So you notice 1 in the numerator is positive, while the other one is negative. So this will fall under addition of dissimilar numbers. How did we add non-similar numbers? We disregard the signs and we subtract the number considered smaller from the number considered larger. So of course 7 is very much larger than 3. So 7 minus 3 is equal to 4. But since the larger number is positive, our answer must also be positive. And we have to place now the common denominator, that is 15. Our final answer is 4 all over 15. So thank you for coming, Debbie and family, Nida, Gabriel. We have here also Bernichichi and Ainalim Kalikbang. So, hello. I will continue. Number 5. 8 over 20 plus negative 11 over 20. Again, they are similar fractions. However, that the numerators give us positive and negative. Once more, because they are numbers of different signs, we have to disregard the signs. So disregarding the signs, we have 8 and 11. Then, subtract the number considered smaller from the number considered larger. Therefore, 11 minus 8 is equal to 3. And affix the sign of the number considered larger to the result. So it becomes negative 3 all over the common denominator, which is 2. Number 6, 3 over 7 plus 2 over 7. So, since they are both positive, all you have to do is to add, and you have 5 all over 7. Next, number 7, negative 10 over 21 plus 3 over 21. We disregard the sign, then subtract the smaller number from the number considered larger. 10 minus 3 is equal to 7. But the number we considered larger is negative. Therefore, our final answer is negative all over a denominator. The common denominator is 21. So what do you notice? 7 and 21. It seems the multiples of 7 is 7, 14, 21. So they have a common factor. 7 and 21 has a common factor of 7. Thus, there is a need to divide both numerator and denominator by 7. So negative 7 divided by 7 is negative 1. And 21 divided by 7 is equal to 3. Final simplified answer then is negative 1 all over 3. Number 8 example. I hope you are following with me. So number 8 example on adding similar fractions. Negative 6 over 15 plus negative 7 over 15. Since they are both negative, like signed numbers will mean simply add the numbers. Therefore, that is equal to 6 plus 7 is equal to 13. But both numbers are negative. Therefore, our answer must be negative. Then, we place our common denominator 15. Therefore, it becomes negative 13 all over 15. If you have questions regarding what I'm discussing, you please just put it in your message so I can answer it after discussing with you my topic. So these are examples of similar fractions. How do we add them similar fractions? Simply add the numerators and copy the same denominator. When it is needed to simplify, when are you going to simplify? When you can see that the numerator and denominator have still what we call a common factor. What will you do? Divide your numerator and denominator by the common factor. The result is considered the simplified answer. Is there any questions? We are now through with addition of similar fractions. Am I going that fast? I hope not. We are now on our addition of non-similar fractions or dissimilar fractions. As the name would say, non-similar or dissimilar. In the similar fractions, they have the same denominator. But therefore, non-similar fractions must have different denominators. You can see from my examples, 5 over 7, 3 over 8, 4 over 15, negative 7 over 9. So what do you notice? We have the denominator 7, 8, 15, and 9, all different. So we call this as our dissimilar fractions. The problem now is, how do we add non-similar fractions? Of course, we are not going to say anymore, there is a need to add the numerator and copy the same denominator. How are we going to copy the same denominator when, in example number 1, the denominators are 7 and 9? Common way of doing this is to make our dissimilar fractions a similar fraction. How do we do that? To do this, if the denominators are relatively prime. When I say relatively prime, these numbers do not have a common factor, do not have a common multiple. So, if we are going to take the multiples of 7, 14, 21, 35, 42, 49. While 9, you will have 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, and so on. So they do not have the same multiples or common multiples. When the numbers do not have common multiples, to get what we call the least common denominator is to multiply these denominators. 7 times 9 then is equal to 63. This is now a common denominator for 5 and 1. But the process is not as simple as they have a common denominator, so we add 5 plus 1. No, we are not going to do that anymore. What we do is to divide our least common denominator by each of our denominators, one after the other, of course. 63 divided by 7 is equal to 9. You multiply the result to the numerator, 5. 9 times 5 is equal to 40, 45. Plus 63 divided by 9. 63 divided by 9 is equal to 7. Times 1 is equal to 7. Since it is understood that 63 is a common factor in the fractions now, so you can add the numerators together. Thus, 45 plus 7 is equal to 12. Carry 1 is 5. We have then a final answer of 52 all over 60. So as I've said, if you have questions to ask, you please just place it in your message. Number 2 example, 1 over 5 plus 3 over 4. The denominators are 5 and 4. Do they have a common factor? None. So they are considered relatively prime also. Therefore, to make them a similar fraction, we simply multiply. 5 times 4 is equal to 20. Then divide this LCD, take note, the name is least common denominator, by each of the denominators given. So 20 divided by 5 is equal to 4. Then multiply it to the numerator 1. 4 times 1 is 4. 20 divided by 4 is equal to 5. We multiply it to the numerator. So times 3. 5 times 3 is equal to 15. Finally, our answer is equal to, you can add now the numerators together since you have the same denominator, all over 20. The answer then is equal to 20. Am I just doing right? Hindi ba ako pasta sa pag-discuss? Just let me know in your messages. Number 3. Number 3, we have 2 over 5 and 3 over 10. So while we see that we have the denominators 5 and 10, the process, of course, is not to multiply the denominators. 5 times 10 is equal to 15. Rather, what we do in here is to find out the multiples of 5. So what are the multiples of 5? May I write it here? We have 5, 10, 15, 20. Okay? So those are the multiples of 5 and so on. While the multiples of 10, you have 10, 20, 30, and 40. If you are to compare the multiples of 5 and 10, do they have something common? Something common on their multiples is 10. Therefore, our least common denominator is 10. We follow the same process. 10 divided by 5 is 2 times the numerator 2 is 4 plus 10 divided by 10 is 1 times 3 is equal to 3. 4 plus 3 is equal to 7 over 10. Our final answer. Or, if you have not taken what I've been saying, as you have to write down the multiples of your denominator and take note of the lowest common multiple. So you can see in here that there are at least in my listing 10 and 20 which are considered common. But what we are talking is the least common. Therefore, what is lower? Is it 10 or 20? It is 10. So our LCD is 10. Or sometimes, we can always say, if you are already well versed in your factors, 5 and 10. The other way of which I'm telling to my student is, if one of your denominator is divisible by the other denominator, 10 is divisible by 5, isn't it? You can always make use of that denominator as your least common denominator. Easier, isn't it? So 10, then do the process just the same. Number 4. We have now 7 over 20 and 8 over 15. So it seems these numbers have they have a common factor, isn't it? They have a common factor. Let us see the factors of 20. It is equal to 4 times 5. While the factors of 15 is 3 times 5. They have a common factor of 5. When they have a common factor, another way of finding this common denominator is to multiply all other factors, but you multiply the common factor as 1. So, 4 times 3 is equal to 12. 12 times 5 is equal to 60. Meaning, Our least common denominator is 60. 60 divided by 20 then is equal to 3 times 7 is 21 plus 60 divided by 15 is equal to 4 times 3 is 32. Our final answer then is 21 plus 32 is 53 all over 60. O siguro, ang nakakalito dito is how to get our least common denominator. If we follow this process of getting our least common denominator, kunin natin yung multiples of 20. So, I place it here. 20, what is next is 40. What is next plus 20 is 60. Plus 20 is 80 and so on. So, these are the multiples of 20. While 15, you have 15, 30. 30 plus 15 is 45. 45 plus 15 is 60. Then plus 15 is 75. Let us look at the factors. Do they have something common? They have something common, which is 60 on their multiples if you are going to make use of this process. So, 60 is the least common denominator. As to whether you do it through factoring or you are going to do it through the multiples of the numbers and take the lowest common multiple, you will have 60 still as your least common denominator. Okay? So, are there questions? May I see? Oh, wala naman so hard. Oh, you try to understand. Kasi mas lalo kung yung estudyante lang, yung tinitingnan niya yung trabaho na ibinigay ng teacher. Eh, di mas lalo na. So now that I am explaining, I hope that you do also your best, grandparents, parents, and guardians to understand so that you know how to explain it to your children or to your child later. So we are through with our addition of non-similar fractions. As I said, what is confusing here is your least common denominator. Let us take some more examples. I have in here 1/4 plus 3 over 8. Anyone? What is the least common denominator? Sige nga. Kindly answer. Meron ba? Least common denominator. Anyone? Tingnan ko nga. Mag-answer naman kayo. What is your least common denominator? Wala nag-answer? 4 and 8. Isn't that I said, look at your denominators. If the higher denominator could be divided by the lower denominator, isn't that you can divide 8 by 4? 8 divided by 4 is equal to 2. So if you can do that, the least common denominator is the higher denominator included. It is equal to 8. Then you proceed through the process. Divide the LCD by each of the denominators. 8 divided by 4 is equal to 2. You multiply to the numerator, times 1 is 2. Plus 8 divided by 8 is 1. Times the numerator 3 is equal to 3. Because we have already a similar fraction, 2 over 8 plus 3 over 8 na ang ibig sabihin niyan. We can always add now the numerator. 2 plus 3 is equal to 5 all over 8. Okay? O, ganyan lang siya. While in my next example, 3 over 16 plus negative 5 over 12. 16 and 12 are even numbers. So if they are even numbers, they must be divisible by 2. One process which I have given you is to find the factors of your denominator. 16. What are the factors of 15? 16. 16 is divisible by 2. It is divisible by 4. It is divisible by 8. It is divisible by 16. While 12 is divisible by 2. It is divisible by 3. It is divisible by 4. And is divisible also by 12. So what do you notice? We have 2 and 2 considered common. We have 4 and 4 considered common. So, sorry. Parang confusing itong ginawa ko. Ulitin natin. It should be the factors of 16. What are the factors of 16? 4 times 4. What are the factors of 12? We have 4 times 3 or 3 times 4. Common is 4. To get the LCD, you multiply all the rest of the numbers, but you consider the common factors once. So 4 considered as 1 times 4 is 16 times the other factor is 3. So 3 times 6 is 18, carry 1 is 48. Dapat, ang least common denominator natin ay 48. Or the other way around, we have to list the multiples of the numbers. What are the multiples of 16? The multiples of 16 is 16 plus 16 is equal to 32 plus 16 is equal to 48 and so on. How about 12? We have 12, 24, you have 36, you have 48 plus 12 is equal to 60. So these are the factors. If you are still going to add 16 here, that is 14, carry 1, 64. These are the multiples of 16. 16, 32, 48, 64. The multiples of 12 is 12, 24, 36, 48, 60. Do they have the lowest common multiples? Yes, and that is 48. While in our first process of finding the LCD, it is still equal to 48. Meaning then, that 48 is our least common denominator. 48 is the least common denominator. So if you are going to divide 48 by 16, the answer is equal to 3. 3 times 3 on the numerator is 9 plus 48 divided by 12 is equal to 4. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. Because our numerator is positive and negative, what shall we do again? We disregard the signs and subtract the smaller number from the bigger number, and the result must be equal to what? Negative 20 plus 9 is equal to ilan? Is equal to negative 11. Since the sign of the number considered larger is negative, we have negative 11 divided by 48. Ay, sana. Kung nahihirapan kayo niyan, parents, how much more to the children. And my final example now, since I promised to finish this for 30 minutes, it's more than 30 minutes now, 20 and 8. The factors of 20, we have 4 times 5. The factors of 8 is 4 times 2. It has a common factor of 4, so 4 times 5 is 20, times 2 is equal to 40. The least common denominator then is 40. 40 divided by 20 is equal to 2 times negative 7 is negative 40. Plus 40 divided by 8 is equal to 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. Adding numbers which are considered of the same sign, we simply add the numbers. Negative plus negative is negative 29 divided by 40. Okay, so that ends our discussions on the operation of the addition of rational numbers, both on similar fractions and non-similar fractions. Siguro, wala pang problema doon sa similar fractions. But the problem on the similar fractions is how to find the least common denominator. So this ends my discussion this afternoon. I hope that you were able to get at least an idea on how to add how to add similar fractions and dissimilar fractions. Thank you to those who came to witness my premiere on how to add rational numbers. Like we have Debbie and family, Nita Gabriel, Berna Chichi, Ainalem Kalikdan. Ainalem is actually starting to have her YouTube channel also. So please try to remember her name. The channel will be Ainalem Kalikdan. We have also here Carol is saying, wow, math time. And then we have also Sandrolis Biguyon saying so hard. Debbie and family. So, try to take note yung mga may YouTube channel. Mas magandang take note of their names, then find them, try to search them in your YouTube. Mas magandang manood muna kayo at least 3 minutes to 5 minutes. Then give them a comment to finally click the subscribe. Kasi pag hindi niyo ginawa yan, you will find it's a problem later. Tulad ng nangyari sa akin. Siguro ganun yung nangyari na ang daming nabawas na subscribers. Siguro ganon. Pati rin yung pagbigay-bigay ng comments na may mga icons like heart, flowers, thumbs up, and so on. Huwag kayong naglalagay ng ganon kasi ayaw ng logo. Okay? So, aside from this, Marjorie Lemon is also saying hello. We have Kwang Nguyen Official, hi friend, love. Sabi niya, ito na yung sinasabi ko. Do not be placing comments on flowers because if these things will be noted by our YT creators, baka ayaw din nila. They are going to consider it as spam. So, thank you very much, friends. I do not know if you can see me. Bye. Till next time. Okay. Thank you very much for coming. I am now going to end